Hey folks, Scott Walters here. Welcome back to the Bulletproof Garage and Project Brutus. All right, today we are working on the transmission extension housing because it is cracked. As you saw in a previous video, it was cracked. I had it welded and then it cracked again. This time we're going to fix it and we're not going to weld it. All right, so stay tuned for the details. Okay folks, from the inside of the case, all right, obviously this is the repair that was made right here, and this is the new crack, all right? The new crack starts here and ends here. Fluid can pass through it, so it goes all the way through the case, all right? So that's the extent of the crack. We want to make sure that it doesn't get any worse. So what we want to do is drill a hole about right here and again right here, all the way through the case to stop the crack, all right? We are isolating the crack. So I'd say, maybe 3/16 of an inch on the outside of the crack is where the hole's gonna be. All right, let's go ahead and mark where we're going to drill the holes. Alright, well that's a lot thinner than I expected. No wonder it cracked right there. Man, that's about, it looks like it's just about a 1/4 inch deep. Alright, I think it's a little thicker over here. Okay, there we go. Alright, next thing we're going to do is we're going to tap these holes. I don't have a whole lot of room to work with here. I think we're going to have to do it without that. Okay folks, now the crack is isolated and I've tapped both of these holes for a 5/16 coarse thread bolt. All right, and I'll explain that to you here shortly. Okay folks, as I mentioned when I was drilling through, this is really thin, and frankly I'm not surprised that it cracked right there. I'm getting 0.195 or 195 thousandths, not even a 1/4 of an inch. That is pretty darn thin for something that will see some torque. All right, next step. Okay folks, so here's what I've got. I've got two 5/16 bolts that I've cut down. These are coarse thread, which is preferable when you're going into aluminum, all right? And that's obviously what I cut the threads for. So, my intent is to not make these holes a spot of weakness, all right? So that's why I'm putting bolts in there, and I'm going to hit them with some red Loctite, and we'll also secure them with some epoxy here shortly. All right, obviously I don't want to tighten those too much. There's not a whole lot of thread in there, and I don't want to pull out the threads. Now the other one is going to take me a while to thread, I think, because it is way back in there. So you can see what I've got here. That's one, and now I'm going with the other right in that area. And this is one of those times where I wish I had little bitty hands. It's not often that I wish that, but right now I wish I did. All right folks, here's what we got here. This is the weld, that's the old crack. Here's the new crack, all right? And that is one 5/16 bolt, that's another 5/16 bolt. They've both gotten a bunch of red Loctite on them. and we're ready for the next step. You can also see where I sort of scuffed up the surface with some really coarse sandpaper, and that'll be important in the next step. All right, and looking at it from this side, bolt, bolt, crack, and crack, and again, I've scuffed up the surface. All right, folks, here's what we've got. Alum bond. So I haven't used this before, but it's really highly rated, and in reading the reviews on this, I saw a lot of people are using it to repair things like crankcases, oil pans, cylinder heads, and such. So it is made specifically for aluminum repair. So let's go ahead and mix up a batch and see what we can get done here. So they say mix it up at a ratio of 1 to 1, and then mix for 3 minutes. All right, and the resin is the gray stuff and the hardener is the white stuff. And if you're familiar with JB Weld, this stuff is a little thinner than JB Weld, at least at first. All right, well, that's been 3 minutes and change, so let's scoop some of this up and apply it. Alright, that's about the consistency of toothpaste right there. Maybe just a little thinner. And doesn't look like there are any air bubbles in there. Alright, it doesn't need to be pretty. It'll settle a little bit more. And then once that is set, we'll go ahead and flip it over and do the other side. There you go. A little bit of a zoom in there. Okay, folks, time to mix up another batch of this alum bond, and we're going to go ahead and do the outside of the housing now. All right, now what I'm going to try to do here is I want to put a big old blob of this stuff, and I want to get it from this bolt to that bolt, and I want to sort of tie in the underside of this repair. So I'm no engineer, but it seems to me that if we tie the bolts together on the top with a blob, then it ties together our blob on the bottom. I don't know. To me, that sounds like a good plan, and that's what we're going to go with. Okay, folks, that's it. So, no, it's not aesthetically pleasing, but to me, that looks like it's good enough for government work. So, hopefully it holds. If not, we'll be pulling the transmission out again. Awesome. Okay, folks, so the repair is done. It actually looks okay, right? This stuff flowed out a little bit. It doesn't look real sloppy, and it dries hard as a rock, all right? So there's that side, and here's the rest of it. Yeah, I got a little bit of a run right here, but you know what? I'm not really worried about it. All right, folks, now for the million-dollar question. How effective was this repair? All right, was it a complete waste of time? Is it as good as new, or is it somewhere in the middle? I think it's somewhere in the middle, all right? So let me get a little scientific on you, and let's talk about tensile strength, all right? So the tensile strength of cast aluminum is around 32,000 PSI, all right? The tensile strength of the Alumabond or alum bond is 3,200 PSI. So what you've got is you've got a repair that is considerably weaker than the material that it's repairing. And that's problematic, right? So in my opinion, what we have here is better than it was before, right? Because it's not going to crack anymore. And it's not going to leak, all right? But I am not sure that this adds much strength, if any at all, to the damaged extension housing, all right? Yeah, I think it's better than just slapping some RTV on it and calling it good, all right, just so it wouldn't leak. But I don't think it's a lot better than that. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, JB Weld and the similar epoxies, all right, metal epoxies are good products. And I think this one, this alum bond, is a good product, and I will use it in the future. But I just don't think it is a great product to be using when you've got a piece that's going to be under tension or compression, all right? It's going to have forces moving it one way or the other. Because again, for structural repairs, you really need to do something like TIG welding, all right? Now, there's another option out there, aluminum brazing, which is something that I can do at home. If I had to do it over again, I would probably use that process, all right? And if I end up finding another one of these that's cracked, I may try my hand at aluminum brazing and see if that works out better. Hey folks, that is it for this episode. As always, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And on this episode, I would love to hear your comments, although I'm a little nervous about what some of y'all are going to say about my repair. All right, but seriously, post up a comment. I read and respond to each and every comment, all right? And I love to hear from y'all. Oh, hey folks, I almost forgot. Look for me on social media as well. I'm on Facebook at The Bulletproof Garage, and I'm also on Instagram at the.bulletproof.garage. All right, and be sure and tune in for more episodes of Project Brutus. We've got a lot more content on the way, and we'll see you next time on The Bulletproof Garage.